Hello, welcome to More Influence and Impact, the show that unlocks secrets of success for multi 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Celia Faye Meisel, sales growth consultant, and I'm here to help you tap into the wealth of knowledge, strategies, and experience of today's most influential industry leaders. Today, I have a special guest for you, Jamie Robarge, who is the founder and executive director of Jamie Robarge Photography. She has been full time in her business since 2019 when her position in retail management was eliminated after a 10-month maternity leave. Jamie offers luxury experiences to her clients, and she is changing the way people think about getting their photographs taken. Jamie, welcome to More Influence and Impact. I'm excited to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. So today on the show, we're going to be talking about attracting clients online through brand imagery that works for you. And Jamie is an expert in this. And so, Jamie, why don't we just start out and you give us a little introduction about like how you got into your business after this maternity leave incident happened and what really attracted you to help people to elevate themselves online so they can attract more high level clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was working in retail management, which was great. It was my first time working in retail, and I started as a seasonal sales associate, and within a year and a half, worked my way up to running a $4 million store with 60 employees. And For me, once my maternity leave was over and my position was eliminated, I have my bachelor's degree in fine art photography. And at that time, I was only making maybe about $1,000 a month taking photos. But in the 5 years I had my degree, I never really gave it that full time push to see if I could make anything of it. So I started my business in December of 2019. As we know, a pandemic happened very shortly after, but we've made it through. And during that time, I was photographing everything and anything. I was kind of known as like your girl next door photographer, baby photos, weddings, anything you name it. And then I started working with entrepreneurs and small businesses, and I really found that to be like my bread and butter. I love that, each of us that own a business, it's really our baby. And we have this vision for how we want the world to see our business and how we want our potential clients to interpret us even before they meet us. And a lot of times, if you don't have the skills or technology or equipment, it can be hard to portray that in imagery. So, throughout the last 4 years, I had been working with more entrepreneurs, more small businesses, and I really like the collaboration aspect of I know that this is what I want my business to look like. I know these are the target audience of who I want to attract. Now, how do I get there through my imagery? And you got to be a little crazy to be an entrepreneur in the best way possible. So that's just, I love being, I always tell people, you're in the driver's seat, I'm in the passenger seat. I've got Google Maps up on the phone. Like, I'm going to help you get where you need to get, even if you're not quite sure the route and getting there.
Yes, that is perfect. And you offer many solutions inside of your offers and your packages to help your clients really elevate themselves. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But let's talk about like, the online space is really, really crowded, right? And
Mhm.
so how do people need to show up in online with their imagery in order to attract those high level clients? And then the second part of this question is like, what could people be doing that's actually like sabotaging them attracting those high level clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know, like, internet aside, when you're out and about, I've never done like a speed dating type environment, but if you've ever been in the dating world, when you see someone, you kind of can decide right away, like, is this somebody I'd want to pursue or no? And I think it's the same online. So the importance of having a headshot that's one professional. A lot of people don't like getting their picture taken, and that's totally fair. That's what brought me into photography. But having a professional image out there can either make or break a potential client. Not only having a professional photo, but having a photo that you look at and you say, this photo feels good. This photo feels like me. Your clients will be able to feed off of that. I've met many people who have had headshots done where they're like, I don't really like it. I look uncomfortable. Like I'm kind of stiff. And they don't use it. They don't share it. They don't update it because the experience wasn't good. And I know firsthand, especially when I'm looking for service providers, I'll judge sometimes off of the headshot, like how professional are you, or what is the quality of your service based off the images that you're putting out to represent your business and your brand.
Yes, yes. And, if somebody is promoting like a luxury brand per se, like, and then they have selfies that maybe are kind of dark or not well lit or whatever, like, do you feel that that will kind of hinder people from getting as many clients as they could?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not only that, I think also if anyone is like a product-based business and the quality of the images of the products that they're offering is also a low quality, it if the photo quality looks cheap, it might make you look cheap too, unfortunately, even if you're not.
Yeah, that's why, it's like this terminology brand aesthetic, right? Like your whole brand has this aesthetic and it's from the imagery to the words you use and all of those people and those pieces and the colors and everything kind of like create that vibe. And
Mhm.
so what about stock imagery? Like, can it help a business? Like if they're using it, or can it hurt a business?
I think it's a bit of both. Most of my most successful clients have found a way to incorporate both together. So a lot of times what I'll do with my clients is we always start with a web audit, and that's going through social media and the website. What are the images that you're using now? Especially for a lot of people who are just starting in their business, luxury photography is definitely an investment. And it can be one that's a little scary to make, just like hiring a web designer or a sales strategist. Like, but those are really great investments that you're going to see a return in. So I think there's just the balance. I've seen people who've used stock imagery really well alongside my images where you would never be able to tell which is which. And then I've seen people who've used like very low quality where the picture is kind of pixelated, or you can even still see like the screenshot maybe from Google on the bottom where it's got like a little graphic of something totally unrelated. Or my favorite is the stock images that have like just the red line down the, and it's like, sometimes you're better off just not using them at all. I know in the world we live in, we're so content focused and you just got to put it out. You just got to put it out. But really, once you put it out, it never goes away. And people don't forget some of the things that they see that remind them of your business and your brand. So I think there's a way to incorporate the two together. It just is about doing it smartly.
And what about like, thinking about this conversation around stock images, like the ones that are like used a lot too. If you go to a sales page or a landing page and you see something that you've seen on 5 or 10 others, do you think that that affects the prospect's thinking around the brand at all?
I do, because I think it goes back to you had mentioned everyone's doing something, right? So I get a lot of people who will tell me, well, everyone's a coach. So it's like, as a coach, how do you stand out? And I feel as a photographer, I'm in one of the most oversaturated markets. We all have phone cameras. So anyone's a photographer, right? But the image quality that comes out is really the make or break point. And it's similar to, I love Canva. So I use Canva for my graphic, my own little social graphic designs, but I think that's the thing too. I've gone on Instagram and I've been sliding and swiping, and I'll see, oh, so and so just used that same exact template and didn't change anything. So always finding like small ways that you can show up more authentically. That's important.
Yeah, and customize. Totally, totally. So, what about this whole like luxury experience thing that you do? And like, how now, I think we want to talk about like the experience side that you provide, but then also, how does that come through in the images that your clients get on the other side of working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into photography shortly after taking my high school senior pictures, and it was the most cringy experience. And I know so many people can relate to that. I didn't know what to expect when I showed up. I didn't get to see any of the pictures. I'm a little bit of a self-conscious person, like many of us. And then finally, after this 2 hours of being in the studio, this whole process, I saw the pictures and I was like, I hate every single one of these photos. So I've taken that personal experience and really incorporated that into the way how I run my business. So we are full service, meaning that you don't have to stress out about what you're going to wear. We meet beforehand and talk about styling, and we also talk about brand colors, how you want to be represented, where your business is now, but where you want it to go. I like to think of it kind of as like a business therapy session. But a lot of people don't think about that. I've gone through with clients before where they'll bring a outfit they wouldn't normally wear, and then in the photos they end up looking uncomfortable. So having things that like genuinely speak to you and having a game plan before the shoot is important. I also work with professional hair and makeup artists they work with women, they do male grooming and non-binary grooming. And what that means is I have a lot of clients like myself who don't really wear makeup or do their hair. And my stylist will take in consideration how you like to look on a day to day. And then they just get you camera ready. So whether that be to make your skin glow a little bit more or your eyes pop out, something simple, it doesn't need to be very extravagant. And then while I'm shooting with my clients, I like to show them the images while I'm taking them. A lot of photographers are very private during their shoots. Oh, no, no sneak peeks. You can't see. I don't believe in that. I think if we're shooting in the studio, you did all this prep to get ready. I want to ensure that you like them while we're looking at them. And if you don't like them, that we can make any changes so they feel authentically like you. So I think it's really just that taking that extra time. There are so many photographers who are real quick to say, I'll meet you for 30 minutes and I'll give you 3 photos. And then you never hear from them for a month. You do your shoot, you don't like the pictures, and that's the end. So I spend about 20 to 40 hours with each one of my clients, really giving a tailored, authentic experience because having that built relationship with my clients is going to show more of the authenticity and how genuine they are in the imagery, which to me is the whole reason for doing the shoot.
Yes, yes, because I think that people want to like express themselves, right, in their photography. And so if they come at the other side of the experience and they feel like they really got to show up as who they are, and also what I'm hearing from you is like who they're becoming and who they want to be in their business, and then they have that visual representation of that, it's really powerful and empowering for them.
Absolutely.
And then what you kind of touched on that, like you meet for with a photographer for 30 minutes and then they hand you 3 images. Let's go into that. This whole other way of some photographers running their business. I know you have like a terminology for it. So let's educate our audience here on what not having this luxury custom tailor experience can look like and what kind of product they may get on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. So last year, when I was making the transition from kind of your girl next door photographer to a luxury photography brand, something we refer to them as like shooting burners, and they're people who just want to make a quick buck. Just got this new camera. I'm going to take a few pictures, not going to let you see them. You don't get to pick them or anything like that. And then that's just the end. It's a very short lived relationship. To me, it doesn't feel genuine or there's no connection. So, what we like to do is just take a step above that. And what we're doing is we're really reframing the way that people think about getting their photos taken. I have so many clients who will reach out to me for the first time and express situations that they've been in with other photographers that have made them hate getting their picture taken, like my senior experience. And it really has nothing to do with you, but it's the experience of who you're working with and what they're able to create to make you feel comfortable. So, what we're doing is reframing the game. So, instead of it feeling like this experience of like, oh, I got to go do my headshots, I got to get an updated headshot, instead of it feeling like a chore or like a task, we really give it the whole experience. We want it to be fun, we want it to be impactful. And we want, when you look at your images, when you're all done at the shoot, we want you to feel good about the photos that you took. And we want you to feel good about the whole experience. We don't want it to be a cringy, dreaded experience. We want it to be something we were like, I can't wait to come back in 6 months and do it again.
Yes, yes. And I have had those experiences with the shoot and burn, and you get like 500 images and they're not great at all. And even sometimes they give it to you and they just give you all the pictures and they're not even edited. And you just have all these raw photos that you have to sift through. And then sometimes you have to sift through like the 500 or 1,000 or whatever, and then come back and say, okay, like these are the ones that I want edited, and that can take you a long time. I've also had experiences where the editing, I literally looked like an alien after. Like, that's the best way I could describe it. I did not look like myself after those pictures. And so I think that like when we've had those bad experiences, coming to somebody who like knows what they're doing and is a professional. And I think that's a part of it too, is like, if you are running a business and you're running like a professional business, you want to work with people who are also running businesses, because there's those aesthetics that they have. And usually, like from my experience, the shoot and burn people were more hobbyist. It was a weekend thing. They may pick up some clients on the side, but it's just like they show up, they take pictures, they deliver, they may do a few edits. So I think that that's important to me, to hire people who like are experts and who are running their businesses like businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in a lot of photography groups on Facebook, and I'm in some very beginner groups and then some luxury groups. And a lot of the times, the pinch points are clients saying, oh, someone will deliver maybe like 50 photos and they don't like any of them. And these photographers are like, I spent all this time editing. I spent all the, I don't understand why they don't like them. And it's just like, one thing is, how many of those 50 photos are you actually going to be using? Another thing is, if your client isn't happy with the imagery, what's the point of any of it? Like there really isn't. So it's a good point you brought that up, because as a single parent entrepreneur, I know how important it is to not overspend on things, but at the same time, photography for your business or your brand is really an investment. You can hire someone to do your brand shoot for a couple $100, have a not so great experience, waste all that time, which in return is wasting money, not using the photos, and then wasting your money in that regard, and then just going to have to hire somebody else. So I love when I get people who've never had professional photo shoots done before, just because I feel like I'm able to protect them from those horrible experiences that so many of us have, and a lot of people have had them.
Right, right. And from what you described earlier, you're providing this like A to Z experience, right? You're getting on with them. You're helping them pick their clothes, and they're looking at their brand. And also, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I know that you do that, is you also kind of help them like with their content planning around
Mhm.
their photos as well. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like most photographers, when they're starting out, I've been guilty of sending an album of 800 photos, like, pick your favorite, goodbye. And I've learned from that. So, what we do now is after our shoot, about 2 or 3 days later, we sit down, and I would generally say during a brand session for one individual, I take about 300 photos, and it doesn't feel like that many photos. So, what I do before I meet with my client for their image ordering appointment is I go through and I narrow it down to about the best 60 to 100 shots. So, something less overwhelming. I have an even mix of different outfits, different facial expressions and poses, because a lot of them could be something as simple as like this to like this. To me, they both look great, but to you, you may have a preference. So we sit down and we look at it together. And then a big thing that we do during our website audit or our social media audit during your consultation is, what do you need photos for? So, do you need a new cover photo for your social medias? Are you looking for images you can use in Canva for content? Is it a headshot for LinkedIn? There's so many different things we need photos for. Even going to my clients' websites and talking about where they want to see images and what those images may look like. So then when we are doing the ordering appointment, we're sitting down and looking, I can provide my professional opinion on, this would be a really great about me picture, as we're like, this one, you look a little bit more reserved or closed off or not as welcoming for who you're trying to reach or whatever it may be. But just being able to have like that second opinion is really important.
Yes, yes. And I think that's great too, is just to like think about things in a way that you might not normally think about it, right? Because even if you, let's say you have a social media manager in your business, like they're not necessarily thinking about like how you're going to do your photos. Like they may be telling you to do this selfie or this video for this reel, but your brand photography is something that's like really going to be with you, until you get your next photos. And even if they're great photos, you can probably continue to use them, year after year. And as you continue to add on and have new photos taken, would you say that, Jamie?
Absolutely. So, something that I pride myself in with my aesthetic is I like to create timeless imagery. So, the best example I can think of is, back in the 90s, the blue jeans with like the white USA shirt or whatever. And like you look at those and you're like, I love these pictures of my family to remember from back then, but I don't know if it really fits the aesthetic in the house in 2023. So, I feel always as I try with my clients to create imagery where I encourage people to update their photos regularly, but the images that we tend to take don't need to be updated too often because they don't have like a trendy preset or filter over them. They're very clean and aesthetic, so they can be reused. And you wouldn't be able to tell if a photo was 4 years old or taken 4 months ago. I always tell people it's time to update your pictures when it just doesn't feel like you anymore, when your brand has kind of shifted an aesthetic, or when you've gone through, we're always growing, we're always going through different transitions. But the imagery will always be timeless. And I think that's important.
It is important. It is important because then that investment just keeps on working for you and continuing on, right? Especially when you use them and you have a plan for how you're going to use them in your business, like you help your clients to do. So, what would you say to someone who, like, they're looking at getting a professional brand photography done, whether it's with you or Jamie's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So, she serves clients in Milwaukee, Madison. You can come to Milwaukee and around because she's so amazing. You want to drive and see her. But let's say that somebody's listening and they're across the country and they can't come and see you. Like, what would you say to someone who's looking at investing in themselves and having professional brand photography, but they're kind of holding themselves back? Like, what message do you have for those listeners?
First, I will come fly to you.
There you
I
go.
would love a vacation. But no, I think if you're on the fence, that's totally normal. And I think when it comes to looking for a photographer to work with for your business or your brand, really one of the most important things is communication. The amount of times that I have had inquiries and people have responded back with, like, I'm just so glad you responded, or you were so nice and you really thoroughly explained the process and what I can expect. To me, that's really important. And anyone, like I had mentioned earlier, we all have phones, so anyone can be a camera. So there's no like or a photographer. There's no necessarily like qualification checklist. So I think it's finding somebody who first you resonate with their work and you like the aesthetic that they're using, their editing process, the way they're posing their clients and who they're working with. I would say that's the first step. And then when you are ready to make that initial contact and reach out, making sure that you feel comfortable with them because this is a big investment. It's a lot of people's first big investment into their business. And having someone who you can ask questions to comfortably, or that you can let them know, like, I'm a little nervous. I've never done this. What do you think about this? And getting like a genuine and thoughtful response back is very important too. But if you're thinking about professional brand photography, or your stock images are starting to just kind of get like if you're not excited about the content you're putting out, it's time to invest into it and see where that can take you.
Yes, that's great. Great insight, Jamie. Thank you. So I'd love to know, how do you feel like this show is more influence and impact? How do you feel like you're having like more influence and impact in the world, whether it's through your business and your community? Because I know you're big in the community. So like, what are all the ways?
I would say the first thing that comes to mind is just going back to what we talked about with that like shoot and burner photographer and then having that luxury experience. Something that we talk about a lot in my luxury photography communities is we'll get some people, there are some people who will look at $200 and they'll think, oh, I can't afford that. That's too much. And then there are other people who easily spend over $20,000 on their photos and don't even flinch about it. And I think it goes back to having the influence and impact to change the way of your industry. So to change the narrative of how things are done, our prices are set the way they are in the luxury market because we go above and beyond to really change the experience of how a lot of people look at photography. So I would say that would be one of the top ones. It's just photography is a high value item when it's done correctly. So just changing the way people are thinking about pricing and budgeting and what is a good investment. I always see on Facebook, looking for a budget friendly photographer, and it's like my budget could be very different from yours. So what does that even mean really? And what is the sacrifice in return? So I would say that's one. And then another thing is I am born and raised in Milwaukee. I've moved away several times and I keep coming back and I see a little bit more permanence here now. But community is really important to me. Starting my business right before the pandemic, I was very sales focused, like sales, sales, sales. I'm a single parent. I have a single income in my household. Like I got to keep food on the table. Sales, sales, sales. The pandemic happened. I can't work now. My business was too new to qualify for unemployment or an SBA loan. So I just had to roll with it. So what we did was we offered free family like porch portraits, but it was a little bit more documentary. I came and actually like hung out so they weren't so like staged and cheesy. But what that taught me was how important community is.
Yeah.
Doing something without expecting anything in return usually brings the best return, in my opinion, and from my experience. So we've been fortunate enough this year where because business is at a good place, I can spend more time volunteering my services to nonprofits in Milwaukee, putting on events and using my network and my business platform and the following that I have to talk about things that are important to me that benefit people in my community. I think a lot of times we forget about that or we get too busy to do those things, which busy is great. But it really is important. And showing other people that having this platform and being able to do these things and showing how much it impacts people hopefully gets other people wanting to do them too.
Yes, yes. And I love what you said about, going out into the community and doing things without expecting, anything in return. And I remember when you were doing those porch photographs, it was really powerful. And to see how that's
Thanks.
evolved over time in your business and the community work that you're doing and, hosting networking for local entrepreneurs and things like that, it just continues to grow. So I'm excited to see what continues to unfold for you. And you're going to be a mommy of two very soon. So there's another baby on the way. That's so exciting. Well, thank you so much, Jamie, for your time and your brilliance. I know I got a lot out of this conversation. I know that the listeners will as well and the viewers. And please let us know how everybody can connect with you. And if they want to work with you or they want to have a consultation with you, what are those steps?
Absolutely. So I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find me on all three. I'd be under Jamie Robarge or Jamie Robarge Photography. You can also visit my website, which is www.jamierobarge.com. Keep it all real simple. And you can fill out a contact form on my website, which will lead you to a 15-minute free photography consultation. And then also you had mentioned if you are in the Milwaukee area, we host monthly entrepreneur support groups. So I'll have more information about those things on my social media pages. And on July 22nd, I am teaching my first beginners photography class. So I'll have one specific to business owners coming up soon, but this one is just super beginner. If you have a camera phone and you're wondering why your pictures don't look good, sign up for my class. I'll help you out. I can help you get that medium with maybe if you're not quite ready for the big investment, but you still want to learn what you can do on your own. It's a great class for that.
That's a great idea. And it's a great opportunity to learn from a master too. So
Oh, thank
awesome.
you.
So we will have all of Jamie's information in the show notes, and you'll be able to connect with her, follow her on social. And she's always got great photographs and engaging content that she's putting out there. So thanks again, Jamie, for coming on to More Influence and Impact. And thank you everybody for tuning in and listening. Until next time, this is Celia Faye Meisel.